Welcome to the Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community, a space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You were just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Austin Holmes. Signal Raptor is a tech-enabled done-with-you PR platform built to empower small businesses, solopreneurs, and startups with affordable tactical media exposure. Through subscription-based services, the company provides weekly media pitching, article creation, press release distribution, influencer outreach, training calls, and a self-service dashboard, all without the high retainers of traditional PR firms. At the helm is Austin Holmes, a Navy Special Operations veteran turned entrepreneur and public relations strategist. Austin's military background instilled in him the values of precision, discipline, and mission-driven teamwork, qualities he now applies to the world of communications. With years of experience in brand strategy and media outreach, Austin founded Signal Raptor to democratize PR, making it accessible to the underdogs who need it the most. As the face of the company, he not only leads its innovation, but also serves as its chief advocate, showing how storytelling, authenticity, and smart media strategy can transform businesses. Well, hi, Austin. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. As I've talked with you earlier, I've had so many wonderful guests come through your platform. So, I'm grateful for you being here and also I'm excited to hear more about the story and the background. But how are you doing today?
I'm having a great day. As you can see, it's beautiful out. We're in that nice springtime weather here and there. Yesterday was a little warm, but things are moving and we're helping a lot of people out.
Wonderful. No, that's one thing that I really appreciate about what you do. So just starting off, you went from Navy Special Operations to entrepreneurship and public relations. So what do you feel like are the threads that connect these chapters of your life for you?
Mostly my wife, Heather.
Okay.
That's the very, very big thread. Heather had started Publicity for Good over 10 years ago now. And we met in 2018, and I still was in the Navy for a little over a year after that. Did an additional deployment during that time and started learning about the business just because I was around Heather. She was on Zoom calls constantly. We were a remote team before remote was popular, and just sitting in a little, probably 300, 400 square foot apartment in Ocean Beach, California, listening to her wrap up calls for the day as I finished work. And so I learned a lot that way, but I went to school for business as well. So it was pretty easy for me to step in on the operations side early on. And, one of the basic tasks there was hiring people. And so I've spent a lot of my time since then hiring, training, developing team members. And that's broadened out to learn it. And of course, just like everybody else, we have people we listen to and have learned a lot from a lot of different people through the years. So,
yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. So, was there a moment when you realized that media visibility wasn't just a business tool, but it could also be like a form of power or empowerment for folks?
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of good examples for this. SAD was a client for a long, long time. And to see the impact that organization makes and how it related to the features we were getting for them, it was a very direct connection, because then in an organization like that, you get the stories back of like, hey, this helped me, or like, I'm very passionate about it for this circumstance in my life. And everybody has a story to tell. And I think it's very hard for people to sort through like the truth, no matter what side it's coming from. And even the internal sources, they're going to say things that aren't necessarily 100% in alignment with reality for a variety of reasons. And so I think getting the story out to a bunch of different places so that people can get the whole picture as much as possible. Because again, it's hard to get that whole picture if you're not on the ground living it. But that's how impact is created, because the whole know, like, and trust on a brand, whether that's a nonprofit or a consumer products brand or a tech company. Like whatever it is that they're doing, the difference that they're trying to make, telling the story around that will build the relationship with your community. Tribes is a great book that talks about this, but building that community is how that impact is made. Like in simple terms, it's living life with other people as much as we can do that over Zoom.
Yeah, no, I really love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I'd love to talk with you more about that too. So, what drew you to support small businesses, solopreneurs, and underdogs specifically?
Oh, I mean, we lived it. When I first met Heather, there were like 3 team members. And so I lived the entire journey all the way up to where we are now with 70. And I also see the impact that it makes on our team. And so I'm a firm believer in business making a massive impact on society and all of the positive things that make life good pretty much have come from entrepreneurship. And there's good and bad sides to that. But I think one of our mentors has a line something like this of businesses are the most consistent positive impact sources in human history. And I'm like, yeah, having lived it, I fully believe that. And so helping anybody in that journey, I think is a natural thing for entrepreneurs to want to reach back and say, hey, I know how much this sucked as I was building my brand, as I was building my organization, and I want to help other people along the way. I think that's a huge part of it, period, is like wanting to help other people. And that's another carry forward from my Navy service is an attitude of service to others. I just do it in a very different way now.
No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I'd love to talk with you more about the name specifically. So, Signal Raptor is such a powerful name. So, can you tell us what's the story behind it and what mission does it represent?
Yeah. First off, it's just fun.
Okay.
That's why I got picked. That's why I got picked out of the final 2. But we took a pretty practical approach. We looked for a bunch of domain names, and this is probably 23. And so by 2023, domain names were harder to find. And so we went through maybe 100 that had some relation to communications and technology. And animals is a pretty common like naming convention. So there were a bunch in there that had animal taglines, which then makes branding very easy. The other competitor, after we also did like surveys on social media to figure out, hey, what do you guys like? Here's what we're trying to create. Here's some name options based on available domains. And then it came down to Message Brew and Signal Raptor. And Message Brew actually won. We knew it was out of 4 at that point. And so after working on the project on the tech side for a little bit, I started calling it Project Raptor because I was biased. I definitely voted for Signal Raptor. And it ended up being such a great branding tool with the dinosaur. There's all kinds of little sayings that we have around like hunt with the pack, target media, all these little things. And so it was really more branding and the fact that we were using it. But yeah, building Raptor has been a lot of fun.
Okay, that's really wonderful. And I know you've spoken about this a little before, but I'd love for you to talk more about your own journey, your own story. So, how has your own journey shaped how you think about service, leadership, and helping others to be seen?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the church, and that was a huge impact on just we always did service projects and mission trips. That the next kind of thing, and scouts too. I was a part of scouts, and service is a part of that as well. So that was like the foundational growing up. Then I got to be on an incredible team with incredible leadership in football in high school. And the leadership there did care about service and winning. And that was a really good couple years with that organization. And then I went off to college and didn't do a whole lot. Like I kind of did the average college experience, went to class when I felt like it, was not a great student, but when I left college, I was missing the team atmosphere. I was missing the service aspect in my life, and I wanted to get back to that. Military is very much a service. And so I spent the next couple of years of my life serving. And I think people glaze over that because it's used so often. But the individuals, like, you are definitely giving away a part of your life for a bigger mission. And the other part of that was I wanted to be a part of the higher level. I wanted to be part of the guys who were doing amazing things. And my job, actually, like, the real role is to save lives.
Right.
Not in the same way that like air rescue guys get to fly in helicopters and like go save people out of the water. It's a little less direct than that, but it's like getting rid of threats to keep other guys safe. And I loved that aspect going into that job, knowing that, hey, I'm not just here to destroy, I'm also here to hopefully save one of the guys next to me.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you for sharing that too. And actually, a little bit about me. Actually, right out of college, I went through an AmeriCorps program called Public Allies. Are you familiar with AmeriCorps?
Yeah, one of the guys on my team was in AmeriCorps for like 12 years or something.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, yeah. Because I was an AmeriCorps member myself, and then just loved what it gave to me as a young professional. And I stayed with them, I think, for like 10 years as their director of recruitment. But the reason why I bring that up too, because we actually thought of it in that same way, like coming into the programs to serve, to be in service to our communities. And I remember people were talking about that too. Like, we should make this mandatory for everyone to have to serve at one point, because it gives you so much perspective and gives you like empathy for the communities that you're serving. But yeah, we were just saying, like, it's, service is just so beautiful and everyone should take part of this, because I think not everyone appreciates or understands what service is like.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about that as well. And I think we had that conversation.
Okay.
I won't use his name to keep his life private, but let's call him Mike. That's not his name, but Mike and I think had that conversation while I was in, and there's actually a bunch of governments around the world that have like, hey, 1 or 2 years of mandatory service in whatever civil capacity. I think having more or at least highlighting the options more here would be a good thing. I get this question too of people coming to me asking like, oh, should I join the military? Or what's your advice? You did this. And my thing is, it is a great option for some people, like the actual military path. But like, there's a lot of other good options, like AmeriCorps. It just going and serving in your local community. However, I think it's very, very valuable. You get a lot of experience. If it's one of the ones where you're traveling, like I think traveling around the world has given me more perspective about like reality and who people are, because there's good people everywhere. And there's also bad people everywhere. Everybody always says, oh, there's good people across the world. Yeah, there's bad people too. And that perspective, I think, is super valuable. So somebody being able to travel with that is even just across the US, I think that makes a more well-rounded human being. And it helps you see other perspectives, because the perspective of somebody from Ohio, where my wife is from, is very different from me, having grown up at the beach in Florida. And so I think that perspective is something that can bring us together, rather than creating all the fracture lines that are currently in society. It's just about connection,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And thank you for sharing that. So just going back to PR. So traditional PR often feels inaccessible to people without money or connections. And even myself, like trying to build my own business, I've also been noticing that. So what inequities do you see in that model that you wanted to disrupt?
I think the biggest thing, and I talk about it in terms of the agency, is you're paying for somebody's experience, time, and relationships. And a huge thing in PR is relationships. Building those relationships takes time. And we say this in the software world of, you can either have it cheap, fast, or done right. And you can't have all three. A lot of people go with one, but you can probably pull off two. And I think that's true with PR to some extent, that you can spend a lot of your time on it. You can spend a lot of your money on it, as the big brands do. And we tried to find that middle ground using technology, using the experience we have in the agency to provide somebody the opportunity to share their story, because that's
Mhm.
so important to me. Like
Right.
not just right, but the responsibility for people who have a story to share it, to help others,
Mhm.
to use their voice to make a positive impact. I think that's so important. And just having the conversation. Like we as a society stopped having conversations for a while. And
Mhm.
then podcasting came in.
Right.
And I think that's helped. But having those conversations, sharing your story is so important for society. It's also so important just for your own mission, like whatever it is you're working on.
Mhm.
If no one knows about it, it's probably not going to go very far. And I'm thankful that there's so many more platforms and outlets available today for people to share their story. And it's our job is to make those connections, whether
Mhm.
that's with Raptor or PFG. Um, and having used service companies, I'm very grateful when somebody wants to hold my hand. But I also
Mhm.
understand that sometimes the budget's not there. And we wanted to create a product that still lets people get the attention that they really need to share their cause, to share their product, um, and move forward without breaking the bank. And because cash
Mhm.
flow is a real thing in business. So,
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. It reminds me too of conversations I've had with people and even my own perspectives. I feel like there are things in our society that like tells us to keep our stories to ourselves, or, maybe it's unprofessional, or there's
mhm.
spaces where, you just don't tell your story. But something that I have noticed is that I think there's this desire for people to want to tell their stories. I've been meeting so many wonderful people who have like powerful stories, and that's what I'm actually trying to do through this podcast, and which is why I really appreciate the work that you do, because I want to show that, just everyone's stories matter. It's not, you don't have to be famous or have like huge platforms for you
Mhm.
to tell your story. Like, just even everyday people, should be able to feel comfortable and have that platform to tell their stories. So, storytelling
Yeah.
is something that's incredibly important to me.
And I think that's where we come in,
Mm-hmm.
is so many people know their story. Either they're
Right.
afraid to share it
Mm-hmm.
or they don't know how.
Right.
Um, but the other thing we help is with the messaging piece. And that's,
Okay.
hey, how are you creating value? Because somebody's going to find value in the story if you just tell it enough. But
Mm-hmm.
let's bring that to the front and
I
start
love
reaching
that.
that audience immediately so that you can reach people. Just like SAD is reaching people in a very specific way, that was
Mm-hmm.
developed over time. But we have a lot of best practices and a lot of experience in saying, hey, here's your story, here's the foundational principles behind what you're doing. All right, how do
Okay.
we frame that? And like people will call it spin, but it's not. It's how
Mm-hmm.
can you help the most people in the most effective way by
Right.
framing your story so that it's reaching the right audience at the right time in the right way.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And so you talk about democratizing PR. So, what does this mean in practice for you?
It goes to the platforms thing. It's more voices being out in the
Mm-hmm.
world rather than fewer. Just like I was saying, it's hard to see the truth from like one angle. I can't remember the site. There's a site that like shares all the different perspectives on a specific story and like the leaning.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a really good example of like, hey, let's go find the whole truth. Like
Right.
the whole, hey, let's go after the actual reality, because everybody does have a spin on it, whether
Mm-hmm.
they want to or not. Like it's just our own biases.
Right.
But more voices, I think, make that truth come out easier.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's also going back to the responsibility of we have a responsibility to help other people and share our story.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be you could write a book or you could go on the news,
Mm-hmm.
but now we have so many more options, so many more people paying attention to that it's needed.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And something else about me. So I feel like I approach things from a social justice lens. So I love to see like, how things can contribute towards like social change or seeing the positive changes that we want to be, even if it comes to like accessibility or visibility. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So do you see media visibility as connected to economic justice or opportunity? And if you do, if you could explain how you see this.
I I look at it very simply.
Okay.
Um, I look at it from, is somebody trying to make a positive impact in the world?
I love that.
And that can mean a lot of different things. Like for instance, we've had a carnivore brand and a vegan brand, and they might not be friends, but they're both serving that specific dietary need. And our responsibility is to bring people together to share positivity, because yes, negativity sells. But we don't want to be a part of that as much as we want to be a part of creating a better society. And that's for us to decide together. There's a lot of people that will preach the other side, but I'd rather be a part of the growth and encouragement of other people than anything else.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. So you've also spoken about making PR more transparent and performance-based. So can you please elaborate on what this means?
This was one of the first like objections, questions, whatever you want to call it, that I learned about as I was learning about PR. And it's hard to track. I have spent the past 7 years or however long it is now trying to solve this problem. And you know, we've done so many things to try and bring transparency to what we're doing for clients. But this is something that technology has enabled in the past couple of years to have true tracking on. And it takes a lot of work. It's very intensive on bringing all the data together. But, you know, with the evolution of performance-based marketing that was driven a lot by what Meta was doing in being able to track to specific people, specific audiences, like, hey, where are my ad dollars going? Now they're a little less transparent with what they do. But we wanted to bring transparency. It's one of our core pillars as much as we could in, hey, what am I getting for investing this in public relations? And the biggest thing that we've seen is when people exit, like building a brand around whatever it is you're doing. That is the most valuable thing. That increases enterprise value, and that's where we can show it, but that takes years. And people want the performance-based side. So, okay, how can we help donations? How can we help revenue? How can we help book sales in that moment? Well, there's specific strategies for that. And one thing we have to be careful of is like, hey, this is what the expectation should be. If it goes really, really well, it's kind of similar to social. Like most posts on social don't go viral. Is there the ability to have is there ability for a specific post to go viral or not? Like you can answer that. You can look at a post and say, yeah, this could go viral. Maybe tweak this, maybe tweak that. But like if that foundation isn't there, it's really hard to say, oh, we're going to have a viral account. If you're not doing the fundamentals, if you're not framing it correctly, going back to messaging. So all of that to say, we are working hard on the tech side to show that performance, to bring all of the data together to say, hey, you're not sure why you grew 10% this quarter. Here's what we accomplished. Okay, let's see if we can find the correlation between all of this and what's actually moving the needle and what's not. Podcasts are another example of this. People are definitely familiar with the influencer train and how that impacts sales and how it's more effective because there's that audience. Podcasts are really powerful because you have somebody else's audience who already trusts them. They're bringing credibility, and you're able to then show that value over time. But it takes a lot of data collection. So we're working on that side of it for transparency's sake.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So can you please explain how are guaranteed placements changing the game for early stage brands?
You have to start somewhere. And there has been a huge marketplace evolve in the PR space of pay to play. When you started seeing blog posts that said sponsored on top, like most people aren't going to recognize that. It does rank differently. So there's not kind of as much that virality element. It's not going to get sent the organic stuff as much, but it's a great place to start. The simple thing of having featured in on your website, that's going to give you credibility. That's going to start your story, because when somebody does Google you and that that's the only thing there, it does come up. And so it gives you something for people to find when they're searching for whatever it is you're doing. Now that scales up to the high end. The most expensive one, I think, was a print magazine on a pretty famous magazine, and I think it was 250,000. So it scales up on guaranteed placements. But the line between marketing and public relations is also blurred. And I think the easiest way to put it is marketing is the space you pay for, and PR is what other people are saying about you.
Okay, great. No, thank you for sharing that. And so what do you think the future PR looks like in an era of creators, AI, and shifting trust in institutions?
Ooh, this is a fun one. Yeah, it's tech is going to take over so many of the tasks. Just like every other industry. What I think doesn't go away for a long time is the relationship aspect, which is where we already spend most of our time. And so building those relationships with media members, with hosts, with YouTube Live is definitely an expanding thing. As all of those things move forward, the person doesn't get removed from the other side for a long time, and maybe never. And so us focusing on the relational aspect, both on the media side and with the individuals we're working with, I think that's the most valuable thing we can continue providing as an industry as a whole. But we know that's something we're focused on internally as well.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. So you talk a lot about authenticity, which I really appreciate. So what does authentic storytelling actually look like in a noisy digital world? That's something that I've been thinking about too. Like, how can I help propel these stories forward? Like, when I just feel like it's so saturated with, a lot of stuff out there. I know they talk about even like AI slop, or it just, it does make it easy for creators to create things too.
It has to be you. There's a lot of people that try and be somebody else, and if it's not you, people can tell that pretty quickly.
Right.
Which, ironically, on the flip side, the AI generated videos, people have been having greater success with the AI than their own recorded content.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing
makes me
too.
Laugh. Yeah, but the messaging behind that is really what we're talking about with authenticity and sharing the intention behind it, I think is where a lot of people go wrong. Or even just having an intention behind why they're doing what they're doing. Why am I creating this piece of content? Well, it's to help people, or it's to drive actual signups for my webinar, or it's to share this piece of information. Having that intention helps you be authentic, but also to the point enough to where people aren't going to check out. And that's the noise factor, is when people are just throwing stuff out there to throw it out there, it's probably not going to be effective. So being intentional on the front end, even before you get to the messaging of, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And then you get to how and the scripting behind it. When am I going to post it? All of that technical stuff should come second when you're looking at content. It should start with, okay, what's my actual intention behind doing this content?
Right.
Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that. And with this next question, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately too. And I know that you've mentioned it, but I'm also trying to build visibility with my own podcast, and I want to build trust with the audience and stuff. And I think, as we were talking to, it's easy to kind of chase what's going viral, because I think that would get more views and everything. But I think for me, it's no, I want to stay authentic to myself. And so something that I'm hoping is if I stay authentic to myself from the beginning, hopefully people can see it later on. I'm just not seeing that, because I'm not having any viral moments, but I feel like it's just my pieces that are going out there is getting really thoughtful conversations with people, thoughtful comments and everything. But with that, how does trust get built through storytelling rather than just promotion?
Couple things on building trust. One of it is just time. There are a lot of ways to shorten the actual time frame. But the number of times that somebody hears from you is a trust building factor. the number of times somebody sees you. This is why shorts are really effective for building a brand, is because they'll see you over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Even though it's not as deep as a podcast, but that's the gateway drug, as they like to say. And the more people who see you and the more times they see you helps build that trust. It's also, hey, what are you saying? It is very easy to destroy credibility when you're trying to be somebody you're not, or when you're trying to speak on something that you aren't versed in, that you know about, but isn't something that you've lived. And that's where the authenticity comes in. It's very easy to destroy trust when you do step out of your zone of expertise. And so when people make statements about something and they don't position it right, they don't frame it right, it's very easy to lose that trust. And so it's this constant give and take. Also, people will forget very, very quickly. And so it is on us to promote ourselves. It's something that we have to constantly, because there's so much other noise out there competing for the attention. And if somebody has forgotten about you, they don't trust you anymore. And so it might be a shorter ramp up for building that relationship, which is really what it is, the second time around, because they do have a memory of you. It's like a childhood friend that you see at a reunion, and it's like, oh, hey, what's up, man? Yeah. What have you been up to? That's the first question, is they got to figure out what you've been doing. And I think this is kind of in the same frame as not speaking to things that aren't in your wheelhouse, but maintaining your positioning, because people trust you for a reason. Building trust, it's about consistency. It's about sticking with your story, because people are there to listen to you for a reason. And it gets really repetitive for us to say the same message over and over. But that's it. I used to hate it. When I was a junior guy in the Navy, I used to hate hearing the same thing and going to the same meetings. And we know what to do. That leadership trust is built by the leader showing up every day and saying the same thing over and over and over again. That's how systems are created. Right. And if we're building a trust system, then we want to be consistent. We want that messaging to stay more or less the same. And that doesn't mean at all that we can't change our mind and we can't update and learn and grow and develop. That's all good and amazing stuff that is compatible with this. But keeping our brand the same is an important part, because if you go off in an entirely different direction, then you can easily destroy trust that way. Yeah. And showing up. People are habitual creatures. Right. So again, consistency.
Yeah, like I was saying too, that's something that I'm also learning. And it's interesting that you bring up YouTube Shorts, because that's what I've been doing too. Noticing that people are more likely to take bite-sized clips of my podcast versus dedicating a whole hour to listening to it. But yeah, it's funny. I remember when I was going through it. So it's just that I was putting together minute clips, and I'm like, surely people have minute attention spans, and people have been telling me, actually, Denise, it's so scary how short people's attention spans are. You got to make 15 to 20-second clips, even what can I say in 15 seconds? But yeah, that's what I've been hearing too. How can you hook people, even you just have the first 1 to 2 seconds to really grab someone's attention?
I love this technical analysis stuff. Okay. So it depends on the platform. But on TikTok, it's under a second. It's something like 0.7 seconds.
0.7. Wow.
That's... I think the decision to scroll is something like 0.3.
Wow.
It's so much faster than people think. Okay. And so TikTok's the fastest. I think Instagram is shortly after that, followed by YouTube. Instagram, I think, is about to break a second if it hasn't already, as far as people's attention span. And so the hook is so important in that first under a second. Even we've looked at some of our shorts for clients and ourselves and said, just flashing this blank screen is too long. It's just a
Oh,
prep to like load
okay. No,
something
that makes
else.
sense.
It's like, no, you have to cut it, and the loading image of whatever it is has to be halfway in before when it starts. Otherwise, we're going to lose people.
Oh, wow.
And it's crazy to watch hook rates based on those little tweaks.
Right.
But you have to keep somebody's attention too, and I think that's like every 5 or 8 seconds. I forget
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to repetitively keep their attention through the entire thing. Now, if
Right.
you're going like into a story after the hook, then
Mm-hmm.
that's going to maintain attention a little better than like, hey, hitting multiple points.
Uh-huh.
Ups and downs is also a very, very powerful tool of building tension and then build
Mm-hmm.
tension and then uh,
Okay.
I know that's really technical, but
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
it is storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And movies have been studying this for a long time, Hollywood, and they've gotten really good at it. If you watch trailers from 50 years ago, they're very different than they are today, uh, because they've figured out how to build that tension, build interest, and
Interesting.
drive action on the back end. So movie
Okay.
trailers are an interesting case study too.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you for sharing. That's really fascinating to me as well. So for someone just starting out, what's one earned media strategy that they can even start using today?
Yeah, this is where I tell people to start. Go to AI, find your
Okay.
local news station, Google the
Mm-hmm.
producer's name, or not Google. Well,
Oh,
you could
okay.
probably Google it, but use
Uh-huh.
AI. It'll tell you their phone number and email. And sorry, producers out there,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, it's really easy to find the information, and then crafting a unique pitch to them based on stuff that they've done recently, whether it's a story they covered on the news yesterday or an
Mm-hmm.
article they wrote, relating your story to that
Mm-hmm.
in an intentional way that's going to generate interest for them to maybe talk about your story. Um,
Okay.
and there's a lot of approaches to do that, but you can target individuals. Now that takes a lot of time.
Right.
The fast version of that is probably 15 minutes from start to finish,
Mm-hmm.
and there as you scale in your PR efforts,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of other approaches to take. There's softwares out there. Signal Raptor is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Little shameless plug for getting more and more attention over time. Part of it is, hey, what have you already done?
Okay.
So having your social media ready to go, that's going to help with that conversion of media opportunities.
Okay.
Um, Relating it to what's going on, whether it's a recent story or an awareness day, like
Mm-hmm.
Mother's Day, I think is coming up. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you have a mother's brand, super easy for you to then relate
Right.
your product to, hey, get this for mom for Mother's Day. Or, I mean, Christmas is the pinnacle of all of them. But
Right.
there's so many opportunities throughout the year, and it really depends on your brand, on what you're doing, as far as what's most relevant. Like Earth Day just happened, right?
Okay.
So that was another example that just went by, and so pitches went out around that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a higher success rate when you have relevancy, and that can start as simply as, hey, I'm from Nashville, put me
Mm.
on Nashville TV.
Okay.
uh, and it's building the relationship. So I'll always keep that in mind, because like for one of our really successful personality clients,
Mm-hmm.
she now has a recurring spot on the local news, and that helps her
Wow.
business in tremendous ways because
Okay.
she showed up, because she built the relationship, and now she's their go-to person for that topic.
Wow.
And so keep the relationship in mind, even as
Okay.
you're cold emailing these producers.
No, I love that. So you may have addressed this already, but I'd love to hear if you have any further advice with this. If someone has a powerful mission, but they also have limited resources, where would you tell them to begin?
I'd write it down.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If you haven't taken the time to clearly map out your mission, what you're trying to accomplish, and it saves a lot of time later, because
Uh-huh.
it allows you to have those questions ready to go. Now, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have already done that. They've written their manifesto for whatever it is they're doing. Um, that was where they started.
Uh-huh.
Where you take that is you start putting on social. You start finding the relevant topics on social that people are talking about that are relevant to your mission. And honestly, the ones where you can get spicy on and be a little controversial, those are the
Mm.
ones that will perform better.
Right.
And you know, but sticking with those principles, sticking with what you're trying to accomplish, and saying it every time. Again, the
Mm.
repetitive thing.
Yeah.
It does get repetitive for us, but you have to assume that somebody on the other end has never seen anything you've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a pretty safe assumption statistically. So you're going to develop fans over time too. Like people are going to support you in that just for the content
Right.
piece. Listen to those people, have interactions, build a relationship with them. They're going to be your biggest proponents of anything that you're doing. And the
Mm-hmm.
same applies in the media realm. You know, you go from being featured in your little local newspaper to being syndicated across 300 different publications.
Mm-hmm.
That is when the virality happens. And it all starts from you writing it down and sharing it. So,
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. And so you've also mentioned expanding horizons. So what new frontiers excite you the most right now?
oh, OpenClaw was high on the
Okay.
list for a couple
Uh-huh.
weeks. We love our automations, and nothing ever works right the first time, but it's cool to see where the tech side is going. We're getting ready for version 3 in 90 days probably. And it's really about helping people. And literally the first thing when you go to Signal Raptor is, hey, what is your brand story?
Mhm.
So I didn't think of that before, but we do practice what we preach with that.
Okay.
Of you start with your story. What's your story? Um,
Hmm.
on the tech side, there's a lot of communication tools that are making it easier to cut through the noise.
Hmm.
Um, and that's being authentic. That's, finding ways to connect with people on an individual level rather than the traditional, hey, let's send this email to 2,000 people and
Right.
maybe we get 1% that reads it. Cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, I think for all the issues in the world, I think we are getting more connected. I think people are settling past the hype of some of, I guess, goes back to like cell phones. Like we're
Uh-huh.
starting to recognize and be way more intentional as a society, as a world, and finding out what's actually going on. People are more aware,
Hmm.
um, and there's
Uh-huh.
still a lot of noise. So there's a lot of noise in the world, and people are starting to take the time to sift through that, and build real relationships. You see
Hmm.
people getting back to in person. I
Hmm.
recently heard something like the most important thing in a lot of major businesses is the in person aspect. And I'm like,
Right.
that's so true. Like, so it was around personalities specifically, but like their main
Hmm.
things are in person events, like Tony Robbins.
Hmm.
And I thought that was powerful. But I think that that speaks to who we are. And so
Hmm.
I'm glad that society's moving back towards that. Obviously, we had a nice skip with COVID of no events for like 2 years.
Right.
But we're we're getting back to being human again, I think.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. So
No, yeah, it's cool that you bring that up too, because I've been thinking about that a lot myself too. And I feel like with COVID and things were shutting down and things becoming remote, it's like, wow, this is cool. This is so convenient. But I feel like there is this desire,
mm,
including myself, to like be reconnected or, like I remember I love going to see live music and I was so sad when there's no concerts during that time. But also with that, I definitely see that just more of that connection versus like disconnect that we started to feel just because we had it. And then I feel like a lot of stuff from COVID stayed around because it was convenient. Because our
yeah.
team also like started doing remote meetings because we're like, oh yeah, why don't we just do remote? It's easier than in person. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think we want to connect.
I'll say something that's kind of industry specific to us too is like the
Uh-huh.
food aspect. We cut our teeth on CPG, and so many of our product brands have been
Mm-hmm.
very intentional, like serving a specific dietary need or very sustainable. Again, purpose driven in general, and I love to see people getting back to trying to eat healthy and not just eating
Yeah.
straight trash in their diets.
Right.
I think that's so important, and leads to a healthier society, which is good for everyone. So,
Uh-huh.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
something
no, I
else.
agree. No, that's really cool, but thank you so much for your time today. I had such a wonderful time talking with you, but just wrapping up, I'd love to close out in this note, but you use the language of helping the underdogs. So what have
Mhm.
underdogs taught you about innovation, courage, and changing systems?
Underdogs are the constant reminder that you may not be right. So whether you're the underdog or the established player, like you always need to be evaluating, are my assumptions still correct?
Oh, okay.
Um, and I think that that's one of the things that entrepreneurship does for society is
Mhm.
most of the time the entrepreneur is the person comfortable in the underdog slot and wants to
Mhm.
make a name for themselves or just wants to fight against whatever big guy
Mhm.
is out there with whatever they're doing.
Mhm.
And I think that's what drives society forward is those
Mhm.
challenges to whatever the status quo is. And they're not always right, but they're willing to take the chance
Mhm.
and do something they believe in. And to me, that's admirable. Part of our job in the Navy was doing that
Okay.
because we were there to save other people in very, very dangerous situations. And we were
Mhm.
the subject matter experts. But our job was to tell the person in charge of the scene
Mhm.
saying, hey, you're wrong. You need to move these people.
Okay.
Is one of the main first requirements. And like, I appreciate that I get to continue kind of doing that of challenging what's going on. And I'm wrong all the time. But I think that's also how we learn and grow and develop as individuals.
Right.
Is being wrong is a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't think many people will say that, but as long as you learn the lesson, like you have to then be reflective and say, what was the lesson that I took from this? Underdogs have some cool ideas. So there's that.
No, I really love that. Thank you again for your time. And just lastly, how can people find you if they'd like to connect with you or get involved with Signal Raptor?
Yeah, me personally, I'm a Austin Holmes pretty much
Hmm.
everywhere. Uh, Publicity for Good is our agency, publicityforgood.com, and Signal
Hmm.
Raptor. You can go to signalraptor.com if you're just starting out or you just want to build that consistency.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. But thank you again. I had such a wonderful time talking with you. I learned so much from you. And yeah, I wish you all the best moving forward. You're doing amazing work, getting those voices out there. But yeah, I hope that you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean back, it's a brand new day. And every time I feel so down that a frown is all that's on my face, I remind myself to take a breath, it's a brand